Hi, this morning we're going to talk about some of the work that we've been doing as a team over the last couple of years with the Smart Communities team, which are part of CCS, and we work with a wide range of organisations across the county. And people have been trying to reach out and listen to the whole community in Somerset, and we've been trying to work with them to help that to happen. So I'm Jane Birch, and I'm the manager of the team, and with me is...
Hi, I'm Ginny Uppington. I do business development for the team, and specifically we're here today about Race Equality Week because Smart Communities has been working really closely with Somerset Diverse Communities team to help and support organisations to reach all the ethnically diverse communities in Somerset to inform their plans for the future. And to better understand, the whole community's needs. So yeah, nice to be here today.
Yeah, it is. I think the thing is, it's fairly easy to get views from a community from the usual suspects, isn't it? You can put out a survey, you can hold a meeting, you can ask people to comment on things, but you generally get the same voices being heard. And I guess what we've been working with organisations to do is try and get a truer picture and a more real picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a really good example of that is recently we're involved in some research for the Octagon Theatre over in Yeovil. One of the people that we research actually lives on the same road as the Octagon Theatre and has lived in Yeovil for 20 years. And she didn't even know the theatre was there. And, that's a really good example of those people that we're reaching that just aren't being met through the usual channels. So just really some of the research was really powerful stuff, and it's lovely to go and speak to those people that aren't usually heard and often are so grateful to talk.
Absolutely. And it's, I guess, for the Octagon, they want to know how to what they can do to provide something for the whole of their community, not just those that are coming along at the moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. They're really reaching out and trying to make their space more inclusive, more something for everybody. And, you only know how to do that by going out and asking people actually what they want, what they do connect with already, what they'd like to see. So, they're really serious about that, and they're going to build that into their 10-year plan, with what people reply. And there's other consultations going as well with the wider community. And yeah, it's just fantastic. It's a fantastic to see, and it's really nice to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that activeness of going out to to talk to people rather than expecting them to come to us or to an organisation, to the Octagon, because that's if you do that, you just won't get that whole picture. So it's I guess it's about being proactive, isn't it? And trying to think through how to reach people. And
absolutely, and we often use really relevant researchers, don't we? Like people with lived experience themselves, of whatever that might, whatever area of work that we're involved in, whether that's about morality or whether that's about ethnically diverse communities. And that's really key in making sure that you're connecting to those people that actually heard.
Absolutely. And I think for the Octagon, it will give them a much better plan and a much better organisation and much better provision going forward, won't it? They'll have something that's and they can continue to do that as they go along, can't they? And it's about continuing to listen to what and respond to that, because things change, people's needs change. So
absolutely. And also for the organisations themselves, it provides them with really strong evidence for funders. So, we've gone out, we've listened to the communities, and this is the need, and we can show you the need because it's been done independently.
And I think this, the way we always work is that our work is we say it how it is from what we hear. We're not, we're trying to give people a true picture of what's needed, what people are saying, rather than perhaps what anyone would want to hear. So it's making sure that that's a true representation as much as we can get it from whoever we're talking to, whether that's young people or whoever in the community, to make sure that their voice is really heard, to make those services and facilities fit their needs, really.
Yeah, absolutely. other examples of when we've done this is, say, we're working with Sedgemoor District Council around the impacts of Brexit research, and this is all the way back in another world before the pandemic,
Yeah.
before actually Brexit happened, because they really wanted to understand, the community's fears and anxieties and worries and aspirations and opportunities that Brexit might present or might not. And so, we did, again, piece of research with ethnically diverse communities in Sedgemoor to actually look at some of those impacts, so that the council could actually start to plan and actually start to put some things in place before it happened.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really good testament to the council's kind of forethought, really, that they're not just assuming they know what's needed.
Yeah.
They're not assuming that they get it and they can understand, or just assuming it'll all be fine. But they're actually employing us to actually do that consultation work to find out what those needs are. So, like you say, so they can plan.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it helps, doesn't it, not to be reactive, to actually have strategies in place. It's far more cost effective in the long run.
And I think as part of that, and the other work we've done, is also looking what's happening elsewhere as well, isn't it? So going back to the Octagon, and with that project as well, it's looking at what some really good things happening all over the country that us in Somerset can learn from, really. So it's good to kind of look at that as well, to see if there's a really good example of something happening elsewhere that people can draw on. Then that's brilliant, really, because that takes some time to do, but I think it's really important to get that.
A really good example of that actually is we've also been involved through public health in Somerset in some county-wide COVID research on the impact. They understand that there's been a disproportionate impact of COVID on ethnically diverse communities, but actually they want to understand what that looks like locally in Somerset, because our ethnically diverse communities are very different from Birmingham's, are very different from London's, are very different from Cornwall's. And so you need to know what it looks like here, but with that you can also look at that national picture and pull in like some really fantastic recommendations about for example, communications.
Absolutely, it's understanding what's happening here, and then looking at how you can address that, and some of those things that are happening elsewhere can help you to do that. I guess in Somerset, one of our big issues is the rurality of the county. It's a very, very rural county. We don't have a large city. We don't have any large urban population. So people are sparse and scattered. It's very different to if you were doing similar work in a urban area. So and the impact of things are different as well, because people can't easily gather. They can't easily walk to services. It's
we talk about this a lot, about the difference in the urban experience of racism compared to the rural experience of racism. And if you haven't got a mosque nearby, or you can't go to a synagogue because there isn't a synagogue in Somerset, those issues of isolation are so much greater, and the experience of rural racism is very, very different than the urban experience.
Absolutely, I think absolutely, and it just makes it harder for it makes it harder and more difficult for the people in that situation, but it also makes it harder to for the local authorities and others to get an idea of what people's views are and what their needs are, because it's not, you can't go to the mosque or to the synagogue, because if those aren't available in those areas, or you can't go to the community centre where it's about reaching individuals, isn't it? It's about talking to individuals.
Absolutely.
So it requires more effort and more time to do that, and thought about how to reach those people that won't be coming to an event, or won't be attending a group or whatever, to actually to reach out to individuals to get that.
Absolutely, and because of all those issues, they're often more vulnerable, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like everything in a rural area. If you're poor in a rural area, it's harder, because it's harder to get the services that you need. Or if you're a young person in a rural area and there isn't the youth centre down the road, or it just makes
And the
it's
bus
hard.
fare costs
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sure. You haven't got a car, access to a car, it's so much harder.
absolutely, absolutely. And you can then people can be a bit invisible, I think, because of that as well. So because you could walk around Somerset and think that it's very sort of it's all the same. It's very sort of white British community, but actually I've seen from the events that Somerset Diverse Communities do, and through the work that the team does, how diverse Somerset is, but it's just not it's not as obvious as it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly because some of our largest migrant populations, such as Polish community and the Romanian community, are white themselves. So actually, people often assume that people are white British when they're not necessarily. We're looking forward to when the census comes out, because hopefully that will show there has been a big change in communities.
Yeah.
Particularly the Romanian community, which was quite small the last time the census was done, actually, and they're now probably our second biggest community.
Yeah, that'd be really useful, really interesting to see, and really useful, I think, for organisations to plan and to know who's out there in more detail. So I think that'd be useful. So yeah.
Is there anything else you want to?
I guess it's just if there are organisations that want to do that, want to know more about how to reach people, how to engage with people. We're always happy to talk. We're always happy to think through ideas and plans that you've got for consultations you want to do, or services you want to run, or how to improve what you're doing. We've learned a lot over the last few years about how to do that. We've done things that have worked really well, and some things that maybe we won't do it like that again. So always happy to talk about it, and happy to make a plan for what you want to do.
Yeah.
So you're really able to listen to the whole of your community.
I think there's so many people that really do want to reach out to all these communities, but it's that first step of actually how.
Exactly.
And we can help with that.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got those connections into communities, and we're really happy. I'm very passionate about it. The whole team are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's adapting what you do to who you want to reach, because it really depends where in the county, what you want to find out about, and making sure it's done in a way that's suitable, and also that people understand why we're doing that and what benefits can have for them. Because
I think a good example of that is when we did the lateral flow testing research, and again with ethnically diverse communities, and we found that white British staff could go along and explain a service and encourage someone to have a test, and they'd say yeah and not doing it. But actually, if you've got people who come from communities themselves, the same lived experience, people actually listen and understand in a different way.
Absolutely.
And that's really important in that engagement. And we were able to provide that to encourage the take up of testing during the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's if you can connect with the person that you're talking to, it always helps, doesn't it? If you've got a point of contact, point of similarity, it does really help to get things. And if you're coming from a similar background, a similar experience, then it's much easier to
just build that little bit of trust to begin with, doesn't it? That which is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it's been a really interesting couple of years. I think that we've learned a lot about how to do this well, and I think what we've been doing has been useful to the organisations we've worked with, and it's really good to see that people want to do this, that they actually do want to listen, and not just that they actually do want to hear from the whole of the community, and are prepared to invest in that as well, because it does take time.
Absolutely. And I think recognition of that is that people have come back and asked us to do it again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, repeat customers are always good. It's a good sign we're doing it well. So and I think it'll be interesting, because we've obviously been through a pretty difficult time with the pandemic, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next in Somerset, and how we can continue to help people to listen to what people's needs are, so we can keep responding, because it's going to be, after the last couple of years, everything's been kind of thrown up in the air and come back down again, and
it's going to be a challenging environment, isn't it, for a while, yeah. And it's really important to understand that need, so that services and everything else, is meeting and providing for all.
Absolutely. I think another piece of work that I think has been really interesting is the work with Diverse Young Somerset as well, because that was a project that was that Somerset Diverse Communities and Smart Communities did, working with young people from diverse backgrounds, and they led the project. But it was about them finding out about listening to their peers to understand their needs in their lives, to help inform the decision makers, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I just, that in regards to your refugees point, we did a really interesting piece of research with the refugees, didn't we, with Caris?
Yes.
Local support agency for refugees.
Yeah, we did. That was a while ago now. When Caris are a community sponsorship charity that work in Somerset and support refugees to settle in the county. They're a brilliant organisation, and they've been working with various individuals and families in the county, but they wanted to understand what people needed going forward beyond that initial resettlement time, and what could be done to support those families and families being settled by the county council as well, to make sure that people were able to make a good new life here, that they could, form relationships, have good healthy lives living in Somerset with employment that satisfies and all those things we all need. And so we did that piece of work with them to understand that, and that has helped to inform what they're doing in the county, and they're working across the region now. So hopefully that knowledge is useful elsewhere as well, to inform the way that they can work. But it was a really good organisation to work with,
The other thing that we do through, again, with Somerset Diverse Communities, we're funded through the Hinkley Point C Community Fund to support ethnically diverse groups to grow and flourish. And, we've helped them out with governance and structure and funding often, signposting those small pots of money or larger pots of money, to make sure that actually, groups themselves become self-sustaining and then have the opportunity, to reach out, and capacity, which is such a struggle for small groups. We can help them with all those issues, and so that's really lovely as well, to work with groups from that side of things as well. Not always just asking of people, actually giving to groups themselves as well to develop and grow and thrive.
Yeah. Absolutely, because I think often people have an idea of, say, something they want to do, and this is true of all community groups. They've got something they want to do, but how to get from the idea to making it happen can sometimes be a bit unclear how you're going to do that. So our role is really to help them to do that, to go from the beginning of the idea to making it happen, and like Ginny says, to keep it sustainable, so it's there for the long term, and that we can help them to do that, whether that's getting the money in, or whether it's making good plans, or how to involve more people, or whatever it is that's needed to make that.
Yeah, and I think everyone's really passionate about that side of our work, because it's so lovely seeing things thrive and ideas get off the ground, and new innovative things happen in Somerset that haven't before. It's fantastic.
Exactly. And one of the things I really love is when someone's done something really, they've started off with some help, they've got going, and then they can help somebody else. So it's sort of self-sustaining. And I guess part of our role is to almost work ourselves out the job in some places, because actually people can help each other and have that confidence, because they've formed well and done it well, that they can then help others. So and that's what a thriving community is, really. It's people doing these things and seeing gaps, and that actually that's something that needs filling, and finding ways to do that. And if we can help people to do that in whatever way they need, in their particular, where they live, or in their group or whatever, then that's brilliant. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. Can we share our emails in the chat?
I don't know.
Not sure. Maybe Nikki could pop it along on the ticker tape at the bottom. This might happen. It might not.
But it'd be great to hear from people who've got something they want to do. Something that or something they feel is needed. So and we can and then we can help you to find a way to make it happen, really, because that's
so have a look on the Smart Communities website. There's case studies up there. There's all sorts of examples. Both me and Jane really happy. Oh, there we go. There's the website.
Oh, very clever.
Me and Jane are both very happy to chat through ideas. I'd love to hear from you, honestly. If you want to, reach out to ethnically diverse communities, or for any other plans as well. But it's Race Equality Week. That's what it's about this week. So yeah, do get in touch. Very friendly, very professional team.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.